All right, we're going to be coming to you live from Plant Fair Nursery here in just a couple of minutes. Just getting ready to go live with KRIM Radio. Stand by and we'll be ready to start with Glenn McComb from Plant Fair Nursery. Got some interesting stuff lined up for you today. And welcome again to KRIM's Community Spotlight on this Tuesday, June 1st. Coming to you live today from Plant Fair Nursery out in Star Valley. And with us, Glenn McComb. And Glenn, this time of year, everybody's anxiously getting back in their gardens again. And there's a lot of different things that we need to be aware of. And you're going to be talking about a number of things today, including how to keep certain pests away from your
That's
garden.
Right. Yeah.
And so where do we start?
Well, first of all, I'd like to, since this is our second one, I'd like to just do a short little review of last month rather. What I was trying to do is, with these spotlights, is show what's happening now and what most of our customers are asking about. So we can present it to the public so everybody can get an idea of what others are asking about and what is available and what we should be doing right now. So last month we talked a lot about fertilizer. So just a real quick going over it, and I'm not sure what that word is, but anyway, going back over it. This is a fertilizer that we recommend for your vegetable garden. Pretty plain on the front there, exactly what it is. And but a lot of times most folks don't like this 4-6-3. They don't think that it's really enough, and actually it really is. But if you want to amp it up, then there is a sheet that you can get at the nursery that's called Glenn's Magic, and I didn't name it, by the way. And what it has is you have this, and then you add blood meal, you add bone meal, and you add potash, and that amps this up and makes this a lot more powerful, like a chemical would be, except that this is going to be all 100% organic. So just a brief reminder, and if you go to the nursery, you can ask for Glenn's Organic Plant Food. Not sure if you can see that or not. Tells you exactly how to use that, what proportions to mix together. And in my garden, which is not a huge garden, but I do have a vegetable garden, one of these mixed together lasts me the whole entire season by fertilizing approximately once a month. So on the back of that one too, it also talks about what those fertilizers do. So we don't need to go into that again, but you'll have a complete story when you get this in there. So just a reminder from last time. So this time we're going to talk about repellents, basically, is how we're going to get through this. So in your vegetable garden, there are companion type plants that you can plant that will help repel aphids and just in general bugs like mosquitoes and certain things because of their odors or because of some components that are within the plant themselves. And so we're briefly going to go down through this. This, of course, is dill, and dill, these are all usable in your garden. You know, we use the dill seeds for making pickles and that sort of thing. So dill, this one is borage, and these are all available now at Plant Fair Nursery, and these are all things that people use within their kitchen, but then you can also put them around your tomatoes and your peppers and your cucumbers and those kind of things that are susceptible to bugs. Chives, of course, great with sour cream and for your potatoes. Trailing rosemary, you know, the old thing, parsley, sage, rosemary, and thyme. That's part of that. And then there's sage. This one happens to be Bergarten, and a real popular type sage. Also a repellent. Cilantro, very popular to use in Mexican food, but also offers some repellent. And then in the rosemary, parsley, sage, rosemary, and thyme, this is thyme. It's a more or less a ground cover. Smells really good. Matter of fact, it really does smell really good. And then mints. So these are also repellent, also good for culinary as well as medicinal use. And then lemongrass, which can actually get pretty good size. So you need to keep it in the garden, but in an area maybe more by itself, and maybe give it a little bit of room to grow it. In my garden, it got up to as much as 2 to 3 feet, and then but it really worked well as a heat release. So you just use the leaves like a tea, and drink it with maybe a cucumber mix, and it will help dissipate the heat. Excellent one. Then of course we're all familiar with, and is probably our most popular herb, is basil. And this is just one type of basil, which is a big leaf basil, also known as nufar, and it's a brand new one. It's going to get in the range of 2 to 3 feet. I put these all in around my tomato plants, and then it offers a lot of protection. There is a bug that likes this, but it's offering protection mostly for the tomatoes and the peppers. So done excellent, excellent. These will all grow right out in the sun. You don't have to worry about shading them, and as a matter of fact, if you work them in around your larger plants like tomatoes, they will offer some shade to keep them just a little bit prettier. This is lavender, is a repellent for a little bit bigger bugs like scorpions and spiders and that sort of thing. Will help keep those all at bay. Also used for its blooms, and then also medicinally. Then of course there's good old marigolds. Marigolds offer not only a bug repellent, but also beauty in the garden. And so we have these two that show just a little bit of contrast. When placed in through your garden, bugs are going to be repelled. We need to understand one thing about all of these herbs when planted in the garden is the word repellent. They're not going to kill those bugs. They're just going to repel them. The odors, the smell, the textures that bugs don't like, that's going to be a repellent. So don't expect to find bugs dead on the ground when you have these all in around it. So they're just offering a repellent. But there is an awful lot of them. Big questions now are, do I just have a herb garden, or do I have herbs within my garden? And the answer is yes. You can do both ways. You can make potted herb gardens where you can grow your favorite herbs in pots that are somewhere out near your house, like near your kitchen, and then or you can just mix them in. As a repellent, they're going to work, of course, in and around your garden. So evenly spaced or spaced within it so that you have room for them to grow, but then to offer the repellent. I brought vinca because vinca is a beautiful flower and will offers a repellent. It's water wise, so it doesn't take very much water, and it also is chipmunks, rabbits, squirrels, deer, elk don't like vinca. So if you're having this in and around the garden and they're browsing, they're going to sense that, they're going to taste it, they're going to probably not eat it, or other things in the garden. So that is one real good way to do it. So as long as we're talking about vegetables, there is other ways, mechanical ways that you can do a repellent. So this one is called Bird X, and a lot of people think about these as, you know, going over your cherry trees or your peach trees, and they are all valuable for that. But this one also can go over top of your vegetable garden, and it will keep out the big varmints like birds from pecking the new seedlings, or perhaps squirrels or rabbits from entering into the garden and chewing on your your new starts. This one works real well. There's also this one, which is called Harvest Guard, and it looks like frost cough. It's real hard to see through this, but it's very, very thin. So you can actually see through it. So it allows the light in, it allows water to go through it, but it does not allow the bugs to go through it. So this over top of new seedlings, or just over top of especially like tomatoes, where we're trying to keep the tomatoes from getting that little leaf hopper on it, which causes verticillium wilt and other diseases. This one will work real well for that. So use any one of these. We highly recommend it. Next month in July, when we do the spotlight again, we will talk about organic and chemical type insecticides and fungicides. So that would be in addition to this. So we're not going to talk about those this time. We'll talk about them on the next time. So that's our vegetable garden. That's how we're going to protect our vegetable garden. The next thing that we'll talk about will be plants that elk don't eat. And of course, I just have a very small representation here, but one of the ones that they don't like that is beautiful out in the garden is the butterfly, a little competition out there, the butterfly bush. And this one happens to be a dwarf butterfly bush called the pugster. And there are many colors in this. There's going to be lavenders, and there's going to be a real dark purple, and there's going to be white. Great for pots on the patio or out in the yard, or just simply planted in the yard. But I brought this because it's really pretty, but the main thing is there are a lot of different kinds of butterfly bush. And so far in our area, elk have been leaving them alone. They've been known to try them. And I think one thing you have to recognize about elk, when they're eating, normally they're grazing on grass, and what they will do on grass is they bite down, clamp down on the grass, and then pull up. And when they pull up, they actually pull it out. Well, a good grass out in the wild that's well rooted, it won't pull it up. They'll just simply snap it off, and then they'll eat their grass. But in your garden, they'll grab a new flower or a new vegetable that you put in, bite it, and then they'll pull up, which then pulls it out root and all, because it's a new planting for you. So that will cause, of course, death, unless you catch it as soon as they do it. That plant is probably going to die just because it's going to dry out. So understand that that's what's happening. Somebody's not coming along pulling them out. It's going to be elk more than likely. So the other thing that we really suggest is anything in the Salvia family. So there are red salvias, there's ones called hot lips, which have two different colors in them. There's purples, there's definitely a few different kinds of salvias. And so far, elk have been leaving them alone. I have had people come in and say, well, they test it. Yeah, the elk are going to test everything because they know your yard is going to be a smorgasbord of good foods, and so they're going to try. And I don't know if they learn or not. It seems like the same elk try the same plants over and over again, but so far the best they could do have been doing is to prune them, and then kind of keeps them down at a level where they're not overgrown at all. So anything in the Salvia family. I have a couple of different ones. So salvias do look different. So this one is Salvia gregii, and this one just happens to be called hot lips. It's in its red stage now, but it will have red and also white. And then this is a salvia. This is called a meadow sage, and it's a little bit lower to the ground, and it's of course a purple color, which is great around foundations or out in the beds or in front of foundation type plants. And the elk so far again have been leaving that one alone. So we move on to this one is Nandina, or heavenly bamboo. and they have been leaving it alone. Again, we're getting reports where they're testing it, or maybe they're trying to eat it. Some people say they stomp on them. Well, you know, there's still not much you can do about that except maybe fence these guys out, and then that will hopefully that'll keep them off of it. But in the meantime, it's not going to be their favorite plant. They may test and then they may move on. These can get up into that 4 or 5 foot area and turn bright red in the wintertime, and then the new growth comes out all kind of a light, almost pinkish red color, and then turns to green. Very nice plant. There are definitely several different kinds. Our favorite is Sienna Sunrise, and in Sienna Sunrise is more compact. It only gets about 3 feet tall, and it really is actually, it's a very special one. The new growth is more like a light pink to red, and has become very, very popular here. Anything in the conifer family, which would be these here. This one happens to be a low growing one. Elk and deer and rabbits have not been eating these, and there's a whole range of these. They'll grow anywhere from 4 to 5 feet as a shrub all the way up to 15 feet as a tree. Good old rosemary, of course, we talked about a little bit over there in the herbs, but a great landscape plant. This one happens to be a trailer. There's also ones that grow straight up, it's called upright, and they'll get about 3 feet tall. Lavender in the landscape, excellent. So far the big animals haven't wanted to eat it. And then this is vinca, again, the same as the one that was in the 6-pack over here. Great for along borders. As they come through, they eat it, they may turn and try something else. Again, another sage, shorter, a little lighter color, pretty one. This one is Coreopsis, or tick seed. Comes in a whole variety of colors, maybe 4 or 5 different colors, all based on yellow. Then euonymus is this one here. It grows a little bit lower, but we have them all the way to 5 feet or so. And then, of course, another kind of vinca is this one with this beautiful lavender or blue flower, ground cover, evergreen, and is absolutely known that elk do not eat that particular one. So that gives us some landscape plants. There are others, couldn't get them all down here on this table. Figure anything with a real good leaf on it is going to be yummy to an elk, and I think you have to be very careful which ones you get along that line. So talking back to repellents again for your landscape, this particular one is liquid fence, and basically what liquid fence is putrefied egg, and they do not like that smell. So before, we're on 4 acres here, before we had a fence, we used to use this about every 2 weeks to a month, and we kept elk out of here for years. Our only problem was we would get busy, we'd forget, and then we would have elk come on in, we'd have to put it back out again. And then there are other ones. This particular one is called Shake Away. I mean, this goes right on the ground. This one you put at right about an elk's nose level, which is probably 3 to 4 feet, on your fence or on posts or on bushes and shrubs, so that they smell it and move away. This particular one is also for javelina, called Shake Away Coyote Urine, and it's been very successful for javelina, shaking it in and around those plants that you want to keep, because javelina will root almost anything. So that's for javelina. Then they've also come out with a repel that is a systemic. So this one is a real granule, and you put this in and around your plant, you water it in, it goes into the root system and makes the plant, no matter what it is, unacceptable for deer, elk, rabbits, doesn't matter what it is. It will definitely keep them from eating it. You would not want to use this on or near anything you're going to eat, like fruit trees, anything in your vegetable garden, but just regular ornamentals out in the yard. This one is really becoming a real good staple. Not cheap, but then neither are your plants. So if you want to protect your plants, we're real good with that one. This one is also another one, this Repel-X. This one is based on blood, and it's just a little bit gross. It's red in color, but it is going to be pig blood, and the elk absolutely will go nowhere near this type of a repellent. This one is the same plant skid, a little more popular. This one is also pig blood, and this one will when they think something has been slaughtered or is going to be slaughtered, then they will stay completely away from this, especially small things like rabbits and squirrels and that sort of thing. The only thing is, it is red. It can get red on your foliage, and that will repel you, but it definitely repels the bugs. We found that this one is the very best one. A little hint on these. These sprayers are made to do fine liquids. Well, when you have blood, it coagulates and can choke this one up. So what we recommend is you just take it off, soak it in hot water, swish it around a little bit to kind of open it back up again, and then go ahead and use it. Well worth it though to keep the bigger animals like deer and that sort of thing away from this, away from there. And then this one is the third one. This one is also just based on putrid egg, and for smaller animals there's also one that will work for deer and elk, and those are the basic ones that we recommend. What you need to do when we're dealing with repellents is don't stay with the same repellent over and over and over again. So what we recommend is you may start with liquid fence, and then this happens to be a gallon. We also have it in smaller containers. So use this until you run out. Then when you run out of that, go then to another one. Doesn't have to be this one, but then try this one. When you run out of this container, then it's now time to go ahead and move on to this one, and that way they don't get used to the smell. They think that we now have a new odor within the plant, so, or within your area. Of course, number one is if you're not here all the time and you don't want to be spraying repellents, certainly recommend a fence of some kind. So you can put fencing on and around, and that will of course is the very best deterrent. We wound up doing that here in the nursery. We have a 7.5 to 8 foot fence all the way around the whole entire forest side, and we have not had them in at all. It's called elk fencing, and that has kept them out. So as a quick review, herbs for the garden, useful to eat, and then also it makes an excellent repellent. And then choosing landscape plants that are, in the first place, elk, deer, or squirrel, or rabbit. They're not friendly to those animals, that they just don't particularly like to eat them. A lot of people say, well, it's just a little bit monotonous having just butterfly bush and nandinas, but I think that in terms of living with the animals, you can design and get designs around these plants and other plants too. I don't, like I said, don't have everything out here, but to make your landscape beautiful, and then to also keep the animals away. Had somebody say that, what about a shotgun? Well, I don't think that's acceptable within the town or within the city, so probably don't recommend that. So one or more of these, or rotating these, will definitely keep them out. So we have barriers, and I think that's about our story this time.
Excellent. Well, I tell you, really appreciate all the insight that you provide, and of course, as a reminder to our listeners, first of all, if you have questions about what would work best in your garden, maybe how to get rid of a certain critter or two, you can always come down to Plant Fair Nursery, and they can get you all the details that you need on your specific challenge or whatever it might be. And we also want to remind people listening on KRIM Radio this morning that on the first Tuesday of every month, we do come to you live on KRIM's Community Spotlight on, again, the first Tuesday of every month, and give you a chance to see what they have going on out here. And you can not only listen to it on KRIM, but if you look for KRIM FM on Facebook and or our website at YouTube. I'm sorry. Yeah, our YouTube. Look for KRIM Radio there as well. Correct. All right. And again, you can actually watch what we're doing because we're shooting video at the same time. We apologize for the traffic noise today, but for some reason we just couldn't keep emergency vehicles from coming by. But we definitely appreciate you tuning in and listening this morning to Community Spotlight on 96.3 FM KRIM.